Three things I would never do as a brain doctor and a pain doctor. Number one, I would never let a chiropractor crack my neck. So let me tell you why. If this is your cervical spine, you have a couple of blood vessels that are very important in the neck. One of them is called the vertebral artery, right, which you can see in red right here. And the other one, not displayed on this model, but a bit in front of it, is called the carotid. And you've probably heard of that one too. But basically, those are the two main sources of blood supply coming from the heart all the way to your brain. Now, what happens with chiropractic neck manipulation, specifically a type called HVLA, high velocity, low amplitude, is basically that they are cracking your neck in such a way that unfortunately is putting these vessels at risk. So what can happen is that you can end up with a dissection. So that's essentially a tear inside the vessel wall of the vertebral or the carotid. And that will essentially compromise the blood flow to your brain and lead to a stroke. And there's definitely reports of that happening after chiropractic manipulation. I have seen 2 cases in my residency where basically young patients had a stroke and it was associated with a chiropractic neck manipulation before that. And again, I mean, not all manipulations are created equally, right? So physical therapy would be safer, massages, acupuncture, all that would be safer as well. But when it comes to cracking, so all those videos that you see on TikTok and Instagram with those cracking sounds that are happening, and similarly with some of the traction maneuvers, I would stay away from those. Because they can compromise your blood vessels in the neck, like I said. They can also compromise your spinal cord itself and potentially lead to spinal cord compression or worsening of nerve root compression, radiculopathy, and just not worth the risk. So I would not do that. All right, let's move on. The second thing that I would never do is deadlifting. Now, I love going to the gym and working out, but there are definitely safer exercises to do than deadlifts. Traditional deadlifts, unfortunately, put you at a risk for injury to your lower lumbar spine. Now, what can happen, especially with any kind of flexion to the spine, but especially with the deadlifting maneuvers, is basically that you'd be putting so much pressure on the disc and the vertebral body that you'd be at risk for disc herniation worsening. So that disc potentially can herniate even more when you're doing that. If you already have a disc herniation, or if not, or even if you don't have a previous disc herniation, essentially what can happen is you can lead to a tear in the disc, and then ultimately you can have a disc herniation that will compress the nerves and shut down your legs, or even lead to more serious injuries. So I have seen too many patients over the years who basically were referred to me because they had a new onset of back pain or sciatica shutting down the legs, and they didn't have any other risk factors aside from deadlifting at the gym the day prior, let's say, or the day of the injury. So again, risk and benefit ratio, there's definitely safer exercises that you can do, like squats and other exercises that potentially would be safer than doing the deadlifts. So I personally do not deadlift at all. And I think a lot of it has to do with technique, right? So you could argue that if you're deadlifting with the right technique and not a massive weight, then potentially it can be safer. And that's true, right? But if you're not doing it properly and you're using a massive weight, then potentially you'd be putting yourself at risk. All right, and then the final thing that I would never do as a pain doctor and brain doctor, I would never wait if I have new neurological symptoms like numbness, weakness, or speech changes. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that you can make, is basically that, let's say you have a new arm weakness and numbness. You might say like, oh, let me give it time, right? Let me give it a few hours, and if it's still there, I'll go to the hospital tomorrow. So that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make, because if, let's say, it was a stroke, then potentially you'd be missing the window. So the window that we have is about 4.5 hours when it comes to clot-busting medications like TPA and TNK. And if we miss that window, then we can't really deliver those medications anymore. And the brain part in question, it gets ischemic, and then you lose that function pretty much irreversibly. But there's only so much physical therapy can do afterward. But if we are able to catch it in that 4.5 hour window, then you'd be eligible for the clot-busting medication, and therefore you can potentially recover all that function. And that makes a huge difference in terms of lifestyle and quality of life. So, so I personally would never wait. If I have any symptoms, whether they are numbness, weakness in an arm or a leg, speech changes, vision changes, right? Like loss of vision in one eye or part of the visual field. So any of those can be concerning for a stroke, and I would simply not wait. If it's me or one of my loved ones or friends, I would definitely urge them to go to the emergency room, get scanned, and then evaluated for a possible stroke. I mean, listen, if it's not a stroke, great. You know, you wasted maybe a few hours and then you go home and then that's it. But if it is a stroke, then you really don't want to be missing it because you're going to regret that for the rest of your life.